Hi. Hello. Hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4033. Like, have you ever seen this thing? Okay, this is like I like this is like basically when your skin is exposed with too much amount of water, you get like this and like this something that I don't know how to supposed to explain this, or I get this, or I get over there. Okay, yeah. And basically it's this thing that key, does my skin is actually exposed with a lot of water? Well, probably not water but sweat. Like my hand is very sweaty always, and in the summer it get even more. There is always kind of like a some sort of moisture in the hand, and that's why just always have that skin things. Whatever. So this is my artifact episode number 4033. Today's date is sorry today's date is May 3rd 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 7:52 a.m. All right. So should we jump into the question? Wait, let me. I'm kind of like doing something stupid shit. I don't know why I'm kind of like doing this thing. Okay, yeah. All right, let's just jump into the question. All right, yeah. So the question is, how will categorize avoid the identity leaks? Okay. First of all, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? Um, is it good frame? There is a kind of like a sky is actually overblowing too much. Okay, yeah. It's actually happened because of that key. Okay, like my skin is kind of like a bit more darker than kind of like the sky, so that's why the camera is actually focused on my screen to make it visible. If it wanted to be my skin is visible, then it should supposed to be increase the kind of like a something, increase the ISO. Okay, yeah. But when it increase the ISO, it just kind of like a something that losing the information over there. Okay, yeah. My phone doesn't really have any HDR, so that's what I'm kind of like a seeing. But still, this is a kind of like a preview that I'm seeing. Final output might be kind of like it's not really that overblown. Probably, yeah. Like basically, this is Poco X7 Pro, which has a kind of like a HDR, by the way. But the kind of like a thing is that it's like the HDR is actually work on back camera, not front camera. Probably, I'm not really sure about that, but still, in the video format, HDR is also might not work. In photo, it work, but in video, it's not probably. All right, yeah. So, what is at least this question? Sorry, I was kind of completely. So, question is that how does category? Okay, yeah, sorry. How will categorize avoid the identity leak? Okay, yeah. So, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build app called My Artifact. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this app? Okay. When you wrote the diary every single day, there is a kind of like a problem actually happened. You can't write the way that you think. Why? Because when we think, which is much more faster than write. In the writing process, there is a lot of constraint too. Uh, Handwriting, speed, pen, paper, uh, convenience, and things like that and that. So we think about a lot, but we cannot print. We cannot put that thought into the page because of this lot of constraint and things and that and that. Oh yeah. So what if I would change from kind of like assembly writing a diary to recording a diary, like audio recording a diary? That audio recording, I call that artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now is My Artifact episode number 4033. I am doing this thing for past 11 years. I am doing this thing every single day, and because of this thing, it add so much amount of value inside of me. The person that I am became today, and the person that I will become tomorrow, it is all because of artifact. I realized that the amount of value that I get from the artifact, what if I could share this technicality to the people? Okay, how do I supposed to do that? By building an application. Oh boy. All right. So by building an application. Okay. So what exactly is this my application? So my application is a kind of like a somewhat something YouTube. Okay, yeah. In the YouTube platform, people are kind of like a somebody upload their video and other people kind of like a sees their video. It's kind of like a same. Okay, yeah. Like basically you upload your artifact and other people are kind of like a listen your artifact. There is only one thing, one catch over here is that I'm kind of like a providing the privacy that uh, no user will kind of like a somebody know that who you are, who am I listening and things like that, and that they are kind of like a getting this random username. That's it. Okay, yeah. To maintain the privacy, it's very much essential. So this is my application. Okay, right now I'm creating this application and I wanted to know I want to know that like basically is this thing na ki it's very essential that when you kind of like build something, you have to aware of that ki like all the possible consequences will gonna happen, right thing, wrong thing, and things and that. Like basically recording artifact for myself is a kind of like a something very different, but when you recording, like when you are kind of like a creating a network that like millions of people will gonna record the artifact, in that case things might be very different. Okay, yeah. So it is very essential that ki I have to be understand all the possible consequences will gonna happen and how do I supposed to overcome that possible consequences, right, wrong, yeah. So I went to ChatGPT. I tell that my idea, that ki this is my idea, this and that and that. I tell that ki suggest me at least like 100 questions so that I would be aware of that ki what am I building? Is it actually worth it? Am I kind of like a create like basically after I build this application, how what kind of like assembly the problem that I might gonna face and how do I supposed to solve that thing? So basically suggest me at least like 100 questions. So ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me hundreds of questions and basically all those questions actually in the mobile phone, but while recording I can't do this thing, like I can't do, yeah. So I wrote the question in here. Okay, yeah. So this is the question. Wait. By the way, this is the new book that I'm reading, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah. All right. So question is, yeah, how does sorry okay, so question is, how will categories avoid the personal or identity leak? Okay, now what exactly is this thing, what exactly identity leaks and things and that. Okay, so basically is this thing I promise to my user to kind of like that I would kind of like keep them private, their artifact should supposed to be keep them private. Okay, yeah. First of all I have to be asked this question that key, like do you really require to kind of like give them privacy, like is it really essential? Well, yeah. And why, let me tell you one thing. Can you imagine that you kind of like simply wrote a diary and someone kind of like reading your diary? How do you feel that? You feel that ki someone entered my space and things and that. Like not take a diary, like let's say you kind of like wrote the poem. Okay, yeah. And someone kind of like somebody just kind of like steal your book and kind of like somebody read the poem and things like that. You feel little bit of kind of like somebody that key not right. Okay, why? Because of that key it's a very personal. Okay, like our thoughts are very messy, very unclear, very like basically let me tell you one thing now, we are very humans and we show the two identity. Okay, the first identity in the practical world and the another identity is inside of it. Example, let's just say I am the kind of like a something the boy from the school and I am very extrovert kind of like a guy. I am kind of like a some particular person who just like a like basically just strong and things, and basically is this thing bullied other people and things and that and that. So this is my kind of like a external identity. I'm not really bullied that much, but kind of like a somebody I have, kind of like a somebody I have that aura in my high school. Okay, yeah, like strong and kind of like a things, and kind of like a no one will kind of like a fight me, and I'm just like I'm the boss and things. Yeah, it's just like that. So this is my external identity. Okay, yeah, but at the same time, I love writing poems, and I didn't tell other guys. Why? Because of that key, it diminish my kind of like a somebody aura. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing, na. If you are a warrior, you shouldn't supposed to be wrote the poem. Why? Because poem are like very girly, like very kind of like a somebody very, like basically this does not suit. Like basically is this thing you are warrior but wearing a kind of like a pink dress inside of it. It just feels like not right. Okay, yeah. And this is what we are, like our external identity are kind of like a much more different than our internal identity, our inside. Okay, yeah. And we always kept that thing difference, we always kept that thing away from each other. Okay, yeah. Now external identity is actually catered by external things, friends, people and things and that. But internal identity, no one cater that thing, no one cater that internal identity thing, because no one knows your internal identity. But that internal identity wanted to explode. But how do you supposed to do that? By kind of like a writing a journal, or kind of like a things, or whatever it is. Okay, yeah. So that let that internal identity get little bit of exposed, but not too much to kind of like affect the external identity. Okay, yeah. This is what we are. Okay, yeah. Like this is what kind of like a thing is that, like from external point of perspective we might think we are so tough, but from internal point of perspective we are just like a basically just a kind of like a water of coconut. Okay, yeah. Like from externally we are so hard, but inside it's just water. So we all are kind of like that particular person, we all have that kind of like some internal identity that we kind of like hide from the people. Okay, yeah. And usually is this thing we kind of like express that internal identity through kind of like a somebody that key kind of like a somebody journaling, or kind of like a things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Journaling or diary and things and that and that. Now imagine that internal identity is a kind of like exposed in front of everybody, then obviously you feel not good. Okay, yeah. You don't feel really not good. Okay, yeah. And that's what kind of like a keep, that's what kind of like a sort of privacy is really essential, because is that thing that na ki if the people who are kind of like a sharing those internal identity, they wanted that key their identity should supposed to be secret. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a things that ki if the user are kind of like I am actually giving the promise that ki their internal identity kept in hidden. Okay, yeah, kept in private. But how do I supposed to do that? How do I kind of like a things? Okay, yeah. I was actually thinking about a lot of stuff. Okay, yeah. And basically it's this thing that key might be I am thinking from very wrong point of perspective. Okay, yeah. Or maybe right point of perspective too. Because I am kind of like a telling you only one side of the story. Another side you don't know that. Example, let's just say is this thing that key like basically some people are try to hide the internal identity, but some people try not to hide the internal identity, they want to share, but they don't really get the platform. Okay, yeah. Example, let's just say is this thing I am a tough guy, and kind of like somebody I love to write the poem. Okay, yeah. Now writing a poem is does not match with my tough guy identity. Okay, so basically I kept that secret. Okay, so I am the particular person who kept that secret, but another person might be different. Another person might be think that no, I shouldn't supposed to keep that secret, I should supposed to be kind of like express my art form, express my poetry, express my things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So in that particular consequences, that particular person wanted that their internal identity should supposed to be shared and things and that and that. So in that particular process, how will that actually happen? then there is another platform now, like basically if the particular person wanted to share their poem and things and that, then they should supposed to be go to the YouTube or kind of like a something that Instagram platform and things and that, right? Yeah, but the problem is that na, ki YouTube and Instagram platform are not meant for kind of like a poem or not meant for kind of like things. Okay, you can do that, you can record your video, upload your video on kind of like a YouTube platform or Instagram platform, but those platform are not meant for that. Those platform are actually meant for kind of like only sharing your creativity and things and that and lot of stuff. Okay, yeah, it kind of like a gives you kind of like a freedom to express your thoughts, but that thought does not kind of like a somebody that like a share with a lot of people. It does not, it just kind of like a stay there and no one kind of like a sees and things and that. And also because of this thing you are kind of like somebody really scared and things and that. Like basically is this thing now कि being a YouTuber and being a kind of like a somebody Instagram person things and that, it's kind of like a somebody like a became a job. Okay, like if you wanted to kind of like express your poetry, then you have to do it every single day. Okay, and this is what kind of like a somebody thinks very different. Okay, yeah. It's a kind of like a somebody you are kind of like a strict with the kind of like a somebody focus on one category and things and that. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. So basically that internal identity, there is no platform to share that internal identity. And Artifact is that kind of like a identity where you could kind of like a share that particular platform. But important talk about the identity. Yeah, important. Some people are wanted to kept hidden their identity. Some people does not. Okay, yeah. So in that context, in that particular thing, how do I supposed to give the privacy? Because I already established that key I should supposed to be give the kind of like a random username and things and that. Okay, but still is this thing na ki it might not work. Okay, yeah. So I kind of like somebody come up with the idea that ki instead of giving the privacy to the user, I have to give the privacy to the artifact when the user will record. Okay, like basically let the user decide that is this artifact episode they should want it to be hidden or they should want it to kind of like assembly released by their real name and things and that. They will decide. Okay, not me, they will decide. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing, if I have to allow them, then probably they would understand, okay, like this kind of like artifact should supposed to be hidden or this artifact should supposed to be kept in private or things and that. So user will have that kind of like assembly like a things that key which kind of like a part of the artifact should supposed to be hidden or which part of the artifact should not supposed to be hidden. Okay, they will kind of like decide that, and which is kind of like a much more better. Because of this thing now, if I'm kind of like a promise to give the privacy to the like a user and artifact and things and that, it's not really possible because people are try to figure it out once in like they will try to figure it out. Okay, yeah. So that is kind of like so many things that I always realize that probably if I'm kind of like giving the privacy, it's not really possible. Because let me tell you one thing, let's just say millions of people will kind of like record the artifact and things and that. How do I supposed to give the privacy for the millions of people? It's not really possible. Okay, it is possible, but still is this thing na ki it's not that key. Like people will try to figure it out. It's a kind of like a thing. Let me tell you one thing. Why are we kind of like hiding our identity? Like basically from which kind of like a people we are hiding the identity? From other people, right? But why does other people are wanted to know you? Yeah, like why does other people wanted to know your identity? Well, it's a kind of like things that now human mind is a very much different. Oh yeah. Example. Okay. Have you ever get any kind of like some gift, birthday gift or any kind of like things? Probably you get that particular gift in your kind of like only when you are child or things and that. Okay, yeah. So let's just say a kind of like a particular kind of like a person who kind of like give you this box of gift which wrapped by kind of like a very really good paper and things and that. Okay, yeah. Now when you see that gift, you are really excited to know that what is exactly inside that gift and things and that. Now why is that? Because of that it creates the curiosity. Okay, our brain are always kind of like a figure it out, always wants to know that what's inside the box. Okay, what's inside that box? Okay, yeah. And when you open the box, there is a kind of like a some toy car, and you don't feel that much excited. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key. Let me tell you one thing. Our human mind are always wanted to know what is actually inside the box. Okay, yeah, always kind of like curious regarding about what's actually inside the box. When you open the box, that curiosity is actually gone. Okay, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing that na ki if I kept people hidden, other people are try to figure it out who is that particular person. Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like a thing that they just wants to know that who is that particular person. Okay, yeah. And even after they know, they didn't do anything at all. Okay, yeah. But they kind of like have that curiosity to kind of like a things like they just always wanted to kind of like open up the box and things and that looking at the what's actually inside the box and things and that. Okay, yeah. So this is our kind of like a simply human thought process. Okay, yeah. The problem is that na ki if I keep the privacy, people are try to figure it out that ki who is that particular person and things and that. Okay, yeah. But that is wrong. What if I didn't really kind of like a give that curiosity? Example, instead of kind of like a wrap that toy car into the gift box, I should supposed to give them directly a toy car. Okay, yeah. So if I give them directly a toy car, then probably that curiosity will not gonna exist, right? So this is what I'm thinking that ki if I'm try to kind of like somebody artifact, if I'm kind of like giving the privacy, like I shouldn't supposed to give the privacy to the user. I should supposed to give the privacy to the artifact. Okay, yeah, and basically let the user kind of like somebody is this thing that ki like basically is this thing na ki let the user will kind of like know that their identity should supposed to be kept secret or not. Okay, yeah. It's kind of like a thing. So okay, yeah, probably like this is kind of like I'm actually thinking about that because okay, this is kind of like a things. Okay, let me kind of like somebody give you the like I already mentioned regarding about identity crisis, but still again I mentioned. Okay, so let's take a kind of like a somebody a kind of like a somebody particular person name kind of like a somebody, let's just say Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, now Shah Rukh Khan is a celebrity. Okay, yeah. Why does Shah Rukh Khan will record the artifact? I'm not really sure. Okay, let me tell you one thing now. My platform is meant for such a people who are wanted to improve their life. They have particular goals. They wanted to achieve their goals, and in that achieving their goals, they are alone in their journey. Okay, yeah. When they are alone in their journey, artifact will kind of like help them. Okay, yeah. But if you're already established person, then probably artifact will not gonna kind of like help you that much. Why? Because there are other factor are kind of like responsible for you to achieve your goals. If you're not really understanding, let me kind of like give you. Okay, yeah. Let's take a kind of like a particular person who want to become an actor. Okay, yeah. He's a kind of like a struggling and things. He does not have that much amount of money and that. Okay, yeah. So artifact will kind of like help that person to achieve the goals and things and that. But what if the Shah Rukh Khan is a kind of like a very big star, and he wanted to achieve his goal too. He wanted to make the films really good films and things and that. So in that particular context, that artifact will kind of like a help Shah Rukh Khan will not really that much. Why? Because of that, in the Shah Rukh Khan level, there is a lot of kind of like a something he already established. And basically, there are other people are kind of like a help them to kind of like achieve their goals. Their fiance, they are kind of like a manager, their whatnot they have. Okay, they kind of like give them hopes and things and that, so that Shah Rukh Khan will not gonna lose the kind of like somebody the throttle neck and things and that. So basically, the artifact is might not help Shah Rukh Khan that much because Shah Rukh Khan is already achieved the goals. Shah Rukh Khan is already kind of like a get that things and that. Okay, yeah. So basically, my platform is for such a people who are kind of like a unsuccessful and they wanted to be successful. Okay, yeah. Because when you become successful, then you don't really require artifact. But okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, yeah. It's not really that you don't really require artifact. You need it, but probably not really that much. Like the importance of the artifact is kind of like a much more bigger when you have nothing. Okay, yeah. But when you have everything, then you don't really have. But this is kind of like I might be thinking from wrong point of perspective because artifact is not actually kind of like a giving the help. Actually, artifact is kind of like a connecting with yourself. You are actually connecting with yourself and things like that. So might be I am kind of like completely wrong. Okay, yeah. But whatever, let's take a kind of like example. Let's take a kind of like a Shah Rukh Khan. So if the Shah Rukh Khan kind of like a record the artifact, obviously other people will kind of like listen because he's a Shah Rukh Khan. Everyone heard his voice and things and that and that. So when he record the artifact, obviously we will gonna know this is the Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, yeah. So basically, how do I supposed to give the privacy to the Shah Rukh Khan? Now, if I'm kind of like a thinking from my point of perspective, is that key voice modulation. Okay, like voice modulation would be changed, like the pitch, the voice pitch would be changed so that the Shah Rukh Khan voice would not be like a heard exactly as a Shah Rukh Khan. It might sound something very different. Okay, one thing. Another thing is that their privacy. Okay, yeah, like a Shah Rukh Khan name is a Shah Rukh Khan, but their artifact handle would be kind of like a, let's just say, like a Princess Mary 48. I know it's very stupid, but yeah, okay. So this is kind of like a things, and also is this thing that Shah Rukh Khan will not gonna mention the name and things and that and that. If he mention the name things, kind of like somebody, my app will try to detect and try to kind of like somebody remove that stuff. Okay, yeah, that name and kind of like a location info at the spur of the moment. The Shah Rukh Khan mentioned. This is how I kind of like give the privacy to the user. Okay, yeah. This is kind of like a things. Okay, but the problem is that people will try to kind of like connect the dots. Okay, how does connect the dot? Like I already mentioned, but still again I mention. Okay, yeah, let's take a kind of like somebody same example as a Shah Rukh Khan. So Shah Rukh Khan make a movie and that movie does not work well. Okay, yeah, flop. Now Shah Rukh Khan is really frustrated and he started recording artifact regarding about that. He put lot of effort in that movie, but that movie went flop. Now he didn't mention his name, he didn't mention the movie name, he didn't mention anything at all. He just mentioned that he put a lot of effort in the movie, does not work at all. So when the user will kind of like listen that particular artifact, they don't know this artifact belong to the Shah Rukh Khan, but they connect the dots that this particular person says that he put lot of effort in the make a movie, but he did not really work. And he realized that dude, this is a kind of like a recently Shah Rukh Khan movie is actually kind of like a release, but it went flop. So is that particular person is this person? Okay, yeah. So people are try to connect the dots, and when they try to connect the dots, they just know that okay, this particular person might be a Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, yeah. So this is a kind of like a thing. This is called kind of like a identity leaks. Okay, yeah. That key identity is kind of like a leak by kind of like a somebody like a connecting dots. People are trying to connect the dots and things and that and that. So in that thing, how do I supposed to be kind of like how do I supposed to kind of like somebody, how do I supposed to kind of like somebody solve this thing? The answer is that I don't know. Literally, just like I don't know. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing na, ki I don't really have any kind of like a solution for that. And also is this thing na, I am another thinking that ki, should I supposed to kind of like give the solution or not? Because like basically what I realized that na, okay, yeah, throughout like artifact is not a kind of like a platform to kind of like somebody share the thoughts and someone could kind of like listen and things and that and that. I am been recording for artifact for almost like 11 year. Okay, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you the changes inside of me. Okay, yeah. At early stage in my artifact, like let's just say early 5 years, I wanted to keep artifact private. Why? Because I don't want to leak my identity and things and that and that. That's why I didn't really upload any of my artifact in YouTube platform. At that time, I don't really knew about that YouTube and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. I was kind of like kept it serious, kept it kind of like a secret. Okay. But like basically since like basically from like after COVID, I realized that like my artifact is really good. I talk like sometime I talk shit. Most of the time I talk shit, but sometime I talk really good. Sometime I talk about kind of like my life and things and that. It's a kind of like a thing. Then let me kind of like simply give you the perspective. Okay, you think that when your identity exposed to the world, chaos will happen. But in reality, that is not. Why is that? Is because of that ki we are overthinking regarding about our identity. Okay, yeah. We think that ki, like, this is my thought process, I should supposed to be kept a secret. This is my thought process, I should supposed to be kept a secret. But the problem is that na everyone thinks the same. Everyone is actually thinking the same. Okay, yeah. So it's a kind of like things that na ki everyone have their secret, and when everyone are try to reveal that secret, then that secret does not secret. It just thing. It just stupid shit. It's a kind of like a thing that na ki, like, I don't know. I'm kind of like a telling from my experience. Okay, yeah. From last 5 year, if someone kind of like a, somebody asks me that I wanted to see your artifact, okay, I'm kind of like a give you the YouTube link. Watch art all those artifacts, almost like 4,000 artifacts. Okay, if you started wanted to watch all those artifacts, like literally just like that, now I'm hats off to you. Okay, yeah, because no one can watch almost like a 4,000 artifact episode. Okay, yeah. So basically, right now, I don't really kind of like somebody think that I should supposed to be kept my privacy hidden and things and that and that. Even if I'm kind of like sharing all those details and things and kept it secret and things and that, because I am more aware of my thought process. I am more aware of all the possible consequences. I'm much more aware of things. Okay, yeah. And like basically is this thing now, I'm not really thinking that I should supposed to be kept the hidden. Like let the kind of like so many thoughts like let me tell you one thing now. It's a kind of like things that now when your handwriting is a kind of like a bad, you are try to prevent the book from someone read. But when your handwriting is actually became good, then yeah, like this is my book, read it. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, yeah. Like when you are kind of like a recording artifact for almost like a 5 year, you are aware of that, and you don't really kind of like a kept it think about the privacy and things and that. Like most of the people who are kind of like a beginning, they are try to making sure their privacy should supposed to be maintained and things and that. But after the 5 year, yeah, you just think that yeah, let them have my artifact. Like what kind of like so many things will gonna happen. Okay, yeah. Like basically this, you know, I'm telling this kind of like a somebody app idea and things and that. My idea is a kind of like a very legit, everyone can make it, it's a very easy. Okay, yeah. But still I'm kind of like a saying this thing because yeah, what could actually happen? Okay, yeah, what could, like, did someone kind of like a make an app about this idea? They will not. Why? Because experience matter. I'm recording this thing for almost like 11 year, and I'm realized that ki how much it kind of like a somebody, how do I supposed to execute this thing. Other people, they might have an idea, but they might not have how they should supposed to be execute that thing. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to realize that na ki the early user, the user who are just started and they just started recording artifact, kept their privacy hidden. Okay, yeah, and kind of like a somebody, they after kind of like a couple of year, they might realize that okay, like let's kind of like a somebody, let's just kind of like express like let's just attach my identity towards the artifact, and this will definitely happen because people will talk something really good in the artifact. At the beginning, they will talk shit. Okay, yeah, like yeah, but since they are kind of continue their artifact and things and that, they are not really hesitate to kind of like share their name, even if they didn't really hesitate to kind of like record the video artifact. Like right now I'm kind of like recording a video artifact episode, and I don't really hesitate at all. Okay, yeah. So it's a kind of like a things that a comfort level. Okay, like you are kind of like a reaching that you don't want to kind of like share that comfort level, you don't want to share and things like that, but throughout the time, it just kind of like a somebody that key, yeah, let them other people welcome to kind of like a see my things and thoughts and things and that. Okay, yeah. So this is what I was thinking. Okay, yeah. So basically it's a new form of kind of like a somebody sharing platform. Okay, yeah. And at the beginning you are wanted to kept secret, and that is true. Yeah, I also am really, when I started recording artifact, I also wanted to keep things secret and things and that. But after the 5 year, you realize that ki I'm talking really good and things, and I wanted to attach my identity towards to the artifact, and yeah, I have to. So long story short, the question is that ki how do I supposed to prevent the identity leak? Well, probably is this thing now, I do not have to prevent the identity leaks. Okay, yeah. All the kind of like a privacy protocol that I have, that all exist. Okay, let the user will kind of like a somebody figure it out that does they want it to kind of like a share their identity or not, because people talk really good in the artifact. Okay, yeah, people will talk very interesting. At the beginning they will talk shit, that is true. Okay, it's a kind of like somebody being a YouTuber who kind of like a make a kind of like a somebody stupid video at the beginning. But since they are kind of like a somebody making something really good video, they just wanted to attach that real name. Okay, yeah, they don't want to kind of like a things that he kept it secret and things like that and that. So this is my kind of like a things. Okay, yeah, but still the stuff that I'm saying is kind of like a somebody just my thought process, what I'm thinking. In reality, things might be very different. Okay, yeah, probably. I don't know what do I supposed to do in this kind of like a somebody situation, because I don't really have any kind of like a somebody that key choices or kind of like a things that key what how how this is it, thank you.